Come home to Liverpool. Come home. Yes. That is the cheering I'm going to do. I'm preparing myself for cheering tonight. I have to cheer the match. Fortunately, I don't drink alcohol, so I'll drink a lot of bottles of water and juice. Come home, England. Come home. Bring it home. You can compose in a song. Thank you very much. Across the continent of Africa, a news from London. Another newspaper as we wrap up. The people say yes, yes came. Captain, bring it home. Sunday people, everybody is waiting for this cup. I hope one day, in a few days, 2 weeks to come, Miriam, we shall sing, come home, come home, come home. Then we can go to the Constitutional Court to find out why we lost. Have you seen the trick? Find out why we lost. And then you begin from that. You know, this Qatar has a lot of property in London to attach. And some of their good planes, you know, our British Airways still have small planes. Yeah, there are good planes here. You are going to see. I made this application jokingly, and the people thought I'm a madman. I'll send you a copy, Miriam. It's sensible. Then don't apply for the hosting of the matches. Yes. Public nuisance, fine. But fundamental things that you allow some section and don't allow. Constitutionally, in the United Kingdom, you lost it. So we go home, come home. After the matches, we settle down in the Constitutional Court. Some people don't know that my case is moving nicely. Among us 476 applicants. The worst thing to do is to touch matanga on international law. Itakunyorosha. Hata kama uko Ocampo itakunyorosha paka urudi kwa mama. Uko kwetu Argentina. 35th there. 35th kule Ocampo. Mwizi. Anakuja Afrika kudanganya wa Afrika. Mwizi. Ocampo is the 5th who came to dismember this continent of Africa. And I'm watching any other person who brings theft in international agencies. That's why I went to school to study international law, Miriam. Why should I? No, you tell me, Miriam, I should keep quiet under the bed. When I wasted the taxpayers' money in London, Her Majesty gave me money to go and study international relations. You don't want me to practice? I should keep quiet. Hello? No. Thank you very much. Those are the news from London. We seem to be hot, and the media seem to be preparing for a battle. Let's have the battle. The proxy war in East and Central Africa, the Great Lakes region. 7 years ago, thank you very much, you introduced, bring it in. Then I can make my statement, which can be a takeaway fast, because we might be bad by time and we don't do a good takeaway. Thank you very much, Miriam. Right. Back in Nairobi, this is Dr. David Matanga live from London. Bring it home, pick up. We have waited for long. Okay, very well. Thank you for that very robust opening and newspaper reviews from there in London. All right, so conflicts in the Great Lakes region are dynamic and complex, and they involve multiple... Is it your internet playing or mine? We are okay here. So the conflicts in the Great Lakes region are dynamic and complex, and they involve multiple and interlocking regional and international actors. However, these conflicts have common features relating to governance issues, identity division, structural violence, exploitation, equal access to natural resources, which are prominently present, as well as
other international actors, the inability of the governments of the day to manage multi-ethnic societies by ensuring equitable access of the natural resources, the rule of law and political inclusion creates a ripe context for conflict as social and political elites play on ethnic divisions and prevailing stereotypes, and the difficulties in addressing basic needs for various ethnic groups equitably can be seen within the context of state policies and have been weakened by conflicts, and whose ability to guarantee security of the life and property of its citizens is diminished. The root causes and dynamics of conflicts in the Great Lakes regions are multiple and complex. In equitable access to state and natural resources, a lack of equal opportunities to access political power, and the proliferation of small arms are just a few of the factors that perpetuate conflict in the region. Often, these issues underlie actual or perceived inequalities and grievances between identity groups, which can lead to, among other outcomes, the violent expression of these grievances. Of course, other international actors and international interference is also in the core of some of these conflicts that we see play out in the Great Lakes region. Doc.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Miriam, for that introduction. Let me do a takeaway so that we don't get lost in an amnesia of difficulties. For the last 6 to 7 years, there has been a smearing state of a proxy war in the region. A proxy war from the time of the overthrow, attempted coup in Burundi by a general who has disappeared in thin air. Since that time, a proxy war was planted on this region of East and Central Africa and the Great Lakes region. Apart from Somalia, which was already in conflict, and apart from South Sudan, that was already at war with each warring parties, another war was looming silent, engineered, prepared, supplied, logistically equipped by foreign masters. Would one wonder, one would again wonder, or would one wonder, why? Surely, Mozambique, of all places, which has been so peaceful since Renamo laid down their guns and joined politics, Cape Delgado had a war. Where did these people come from? Who invented this war? Who was looking for what in this region? All of a sudden, the northern part of Mozambique became impassable. The southern part of Tanzania became impassable. A proxy war. A proxy war started looming around the borders of Rwanda, Burundi. The government of Rwanda closed the border with Uganda. For 3 years, and the people have forgotten this, for almost 3 years, the Uganda-Kenya border, the Uganda-Rwanda border, and the Rwanda-Burundi border was not working. A climax of 3 years closure of this border. Businesses died. Most of us who were doing businesses with Rwanda lost, became paupers on the streets of Nairobi, Kigali, Kampala. Trucks were held across in those places painfully. Nobody bothered to repay us, or nobody bothered about the plight of people and how many families lost their livelihood as a result of the closure of the border between Uganda and Rwanda and Burundi, and to some extent affected the border posts of Bunagana and other areas which goes to Congo. In the north of Uganda and Kenya, western part of Kenya, there was a war taking place the South Sudan peace process by IGAD created a new dimension where the war, the gun is silenced, but the peace remained fragile. Across in Khartoum in Sudan, a military coup came about, overthrew General Bashir, a strong man who had kept, to some extent, that part of the country to oneness. Up to now, there are demonstrations across the streets, the towns of Sudan. Another war erupted in Ethiopia between Tigray and the Ethiopian government forces. We lost immensely. We lost thousands and thousands of people. Many people have suffered starvation, medical treatment has never been seen, education, commerce was disrupted, buildings were destroyed, infrastructure all broken down. A proxy war. Across in Somalia lies a war that never ends, but changes the names from AMISOM to Artemis. And we keep on changing. We might even change given the new dimension of the Al-Shabaab operations. On the border between Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, Rwanda and Uganda, rebels emerged. The M23-1A, there are two types of M23. The M23A and the M23B, which was part and parcel of the CDM of Laurent Kunda. Several people in the DRC Congo have been taken, shipped, arraigned in court, in the International Criminal Court, in the hope that the others behind will learn a lesson. Nothing has happened. Nobody has learned a lesson. The war continues. Two rebel groups, M23, one led by Makenga, fled, started fighting and coming in Uganda. Another group went to seek asylum. Their grievances were very clear that they were being discriminated by the Congolese government, that it did not give them identity and they did not recognize them as Congolese. Whether their claims are genuine, we live to see what the mediators will find. But this proxy war, above all this, on the southern part of the border between Rwanda and Burundi, the two presidents need a bodyguard in the middle to sit in one room. They don't see eye to eye. The border is still closed. For you to go to Rwanda, you need to come to Nairobi in order to fly to Rwanda if you are from Burundi, and vice versa. Across in the Central African Republic, ladies and gentlemen, as I come to a conclusion, across in the Central African Republic, Bozise has been equipped, armed, supplied logistically by a foreign power to destabilize the government in Bangui. Any African scholar who has studied the Great Lakes region like me, not from the streets, but from universities recognized in London, I would not keep quiet and watch the situation go from worse to worse, while key players become melodramatic, dishonest, and above all, abusive. Some of the words that are being said might look like they are simple words, but down in the real sense, authorities in countries around the Great Lakes region take them seriously. Why would, for example, Rwanda and Burundi close the border? And then we come and say we are East African community? Why? Would someone tell me why a Burundian cannot travel to Rwanda and a Rwandese cannot go to Burundi? And then we call ourselves Africans. Time has come. If Nkrumah died by telling us, let's seek political unity, I will die by saying, let's seek unity of purpose in order to enhance our African development, enhance progress in Africa. You can tell us you are doing very well, you kill people, you do whatever it is. Time comes when even the killer is killed. Time comes, even the killer disappears. Idi Amin is not here today. Idi Amin is somewhere up, and some of us will meet him, and he will ask us, why did you overthrow me? He's not here. We took arms to overthrow Idi Amin in 1978, 79. Not for a better Africa. But have we gone back to the Africa that we did not want? It is coming back, a proxy war. Miriam, there are countries in this region, ladies and gentlemen. There are external forces in this region. There is a third force in this region that does not want the unity that the East Africans are yearning for, and the Great Lakes region. The Cape Delgado, most of the people who were in Cape Delgado, some of them were refugees, and guess where they came from? If you can guess, your guess is like mine. And Mr. Chisano should come out openly to tell us, because he resettled these people when he was a president of the Republic of Mozambique. Are they the ones that have been silenced completely? Who brought this war in Cape Delgado? The truth has come out. Is Qatar and the Total Oil part of the problems of East Africa? I land the mic by asking fellow Africans, wherever there has been oil, there has been a crisis. Why are we having a crisis whenever we discover oil? What have we done wrong as Africans? Why should oil be a source of our discomfort instead of being the source of our comfort? Those are two clips. You can make them work and make sure that the people of Africa listen to my voice. If you find me gone, pick the mantle and ask those questions. Why? 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 There is a proxy war in the region. Finally, look at the railway, the pipeline. Why should the European Union gag the people of Uganda? When did they see these human rights happening? Is it today? Or when the oil was discovered about 10 years ago? Were there no human rights ever seen? They didn't know that this environment will be affected. Why would a bank in Europe, for example, Miriam, give money to a country, and the same country and the same bank from that same country tell the European Union we are cancelling the loan because of environment and the human rights? Are we being lied to? Are we sincere? I land and rest my case by calling upon Africa to unite the Great Lakes region and the East African community. And I call upon the mediators to ask these hard questions. Whose proxy war are you fighting? Let the mediators ask the combatants, the rebel groups, whose proxy war? And until we do a real investigation, inward analysis, review, fatigue evaluation of the problems that we face as East Africans, and we are sincere, I landed the mic by saying we are not safe The words that you hear, you might take them lightly, but my sisters and brothers, they could come to a reality. Because you never know who has an expansionist theory. I don't have one. I don't think the studios have one. I don't think anybody listening to me has an expansionist theory in Africa. Thank you very much. This is Dr. David Masanga from the Political Command Center in London. That is the take, my take of the Africa Showdown, the Africa we want. Thank you. Back to you, Miriam, in the studios in Nairobi to open up for a discussion. Those can be 2 clips, 3 clips, no problem. Thank you. That's the material.
All right. Very well. Daniel Wesonga, a very good afternoon to you.
Yes, a very, very good afternoon to you, Miriam, in our headquarters. Good afternoon to Dr. Masanga David, who is coming to us live miles away in London, and to our viewers here in Nairobi, Kenya, East Africa, Africa, and the rest of the world who are tuned in this afternoon. It is indeed my pleasure, Miriam, to be on the African Showdown this afternoon.
All right, nice to have you. It's been a while, and I'm sure you've been listening to what has already been said. And I think a couple of things have come out of the submission that you've had from talk and the introduction I made there a bit earlier. And a lot of it has to do with exploitation that is hidden under proxy war and also other factors. But I think the core of this is exploitation that we see play out in the natural resources. Because when you look at a lot of these countries that are unstable, they have so much that if they were just left alone to themselves, to just realize who they are as a country and as a people, then they are just some of the countries that will be thriving across the continent. But today we, of course, are focusing on the Great Lakes region here, which I think covers about 10 countries. That including those from East Africa, excluding South Sudan, Ethiopia, Malawi, Mozambique, Zambia, and all that. And so let's talk about the proxy war that Dr. Masanga has already introduced, and that how it ties to the exploitation that still continues in this continent, and perhaps that becomes the bedrock that fuels the conflict that we see play out today in the Great Lakes region.
Thank you so much, Miriam. And of course, now speaking after Dr. Masanga has spoken, I believe he's been able to exhaustively, bring out this issue of proxy wars in Africa and be able to paint a very, very clear picture of the dire situation on the ground. And to me, Miriam, as Dr. Masanga was talking, I was trying to picture out the scenario as it is in the African continent. Everywhere he could mention, I could try to picture out what is this country that he's talking about. And the general perspective that came out, Miriam, is that Africa, we are in big trouble. Every corner of our continent is either in conflict or conflict is brewing up. So you realize that, even countries that are come closer maybe to whatever is happening in Congo, or whatever is happening in Ethiopia, or whatever is happening in the Maghreb region. You see countries like Nigeria, they are still also in turmoil, because we have a lot of infighting. Today, you can see whatever is happening with the people of Biafra. You can look at Cameroon, for example, also the people of Amazonia. All these, Miriam, I believe, they are reverberations of a proxy war. And to me, Miriam, when I look at the proxy war, sometimes I tend to go beyond, the infighting and the militias that are in the bush, fighting the legitimate governments of the African continent. I also look at the Zimbabwean, the sanctions on Zimbabwe as some kind of a proxy war. The sanctions are being used by the West to actually derail the governance, to derail the progress of the people, to derail the economic growth of the people of Zimbabwe. It is only that these sanctions, unlike the militias and the rebel groups, they are not armed, but so far so good, Miriam. I believe they actually meet the criteria of being under the subject of the proxy war, because they are being used as something, as an excuse to be able to cripple the economy of the people of Zimbabwe. And don't be mistaken, Miriam, because I believe if people are crippled economically, then these people will be adversely affected even in their healthcare, even in their way of living, the living standards, and the impacts that the proxy wars have caused in South Sudan, the impact that the proxy wars have caused in Cameroon, the impact that the proxy wars have caused in Central African Republic are the same. It is the same impact, rather, of the sanctions that have been bedeviling Zimbabwe for a long time. So therefore, Miriam, I think in Africa, we've been doomed or maybe sentenced to a situation of suffering, anguish, and melancholy because of these proxy wars and because of the sanctions. So to me, I believe these sanctions and these proxy wars, we must have a beneficiary behind it. Because trust me, Miriam, we cannot be having these wars across Africa if we do not have a beneficiary. If these wars did not benefit anyone, I don't think we will be having the situation of proliferation of weapons in Africa. We wouldn't be having the armed trade that is happening here in Congo. We wouldn't be having the situation that is happening in Central African Republic or in Somalia. So we must call out the beneficiary of these wars, who are the people who are arming these armed rebel groups. And that is what Dr. Masanga said. When the mediators go to the negotiation room, let them ask the rebels to name out, to say who sent them, who is giving you instructions to go and cause mayhem in DR Congo? Who is this who is sponsoring your arms to go into the bush in the Central African Republic? Who is this who is giving you money to fight the government of the day in Cabo Delgado, in Mozambique? Who is this that is sending you, in northern Nigeria to abduct people, kill young girls, and, wreak havoc, on the communities that are living in the north? So to me, Miriam, I believe there are proxy wars in Africa, and every part of Africa you look at, you will actually, just by face value, to point out a scenario where people are fighting, and the reasons why these people are fighting are actually unknown to many, because we do have a scenario where some outsiders are secretly sponsoring these fights, so that as people fight, they're actually able to take advantage of the opportunities that are there, and they're able to seize raw materials that are there in Africa. Why are we not seeing these proxy wars happening in Europe? So far, in the recent past, the only big war that has happened in Europe is between Russia and Ukraine, and the reasons are well known to us. But in Africa, it is a perpetual scenario of war after war. Today, if you go to sleep, Miriam, tonight, you don't know if tomorrow you'll be waking up to another coup happening in West Africa, or another coup happening in Southern Africa, or another proxy war which has just broke up in the Maghreb region. So Africa is actually walking on a fragile platter where you are never sure which president is going to be overthrown in the next 24 hours. And this is because we've allowed the tentacles of the foreign interferers to encroach into our system. Today we struggle with a democracy which does not even work for the UK or any other Western powers, because this democracy has been a subject of abuse and mutilations by the Western nations. But they will always want to force it down our throats, because we are Africans and we do not have a voice of our own to speak on our issues, to start a system of governance like the Chinese did, to be able actually to build, economies that can be able to compete the Western economies.
You can't build, Wesonga, you can't build an economy. Let me bring in some flavor here, because Miriam has allowed you to go the full length. You might go until tomorrow and reach Damascus before us. But let's get this. You can't build an economy when you are subjected to the bad rules that are occurring through a war, a proxy war. For example, the French tell us to abide by human rights. They told Magufuli to abide by human rights. They tell us to save rule of law, governance. But at the same time, there are companies, multinational, transnational companies that walk around the world, Total Oil, is not abiding by the rules.
Exactly, Dr. Masana.
And that
Yes.
was going to bring me, I was just waiting for him to conclude that, because I wanted to do a follow-up question, Doc, on exactly what you're raising there. For there to be, Daniel, sorry we cut you, but we'll come back to you just in a bit. For there to be a proxy war that comes from outside of these countries that we see here, then there has to be an enabling environment within which, in the country, within which allows for this proxy war to play out in the country. So that means that we do have other internal issues that has to be looked at, that forms a structural flaws as far as the governance and the political systems is concerned, that is devoid of the rule of law and political inclusion, which becomes a very ripe context for these conflicts to take place. So as much as we do know the conflict and the proxy war is playing out, but also we have to look at the internal factors that have been enabled and have created an enabling environment for this proxy war to play out. So how can we speak about perhaps a political inclusion that we know? We've seen how that has played out in Ethiopia. We've seen how that has played out in these conflict-ridden countries. To be honest, when you look at just one by one, it's because one community feels they're not part of, they're not included, they're not on the table as far as decision making is concerned. So that as an internal factor, how does that play out to even create this enabling environment where proxy war can become ripe in a country?
Thank you very much, Miriam, for raising that. Let's be very honest and bring it on table. Take the example. I am going to do a case study because as a political scientist, I just don't talk. I have to bring a case study. Look at the case study of Cape Delgado. Cape Delgado in Mozambique was a very peaceful area. The Mozambican government knew very well that there was oil and hot gas springs, oil tourism was flourishing. They knew it. They have known it. President Chisano, President Nyusi, another president, they all knew this. Where did the problem come from? It came from President Nyusi himself. And this are films, you know me, I speak candidly. What will he do? Will he refuse me food? I don't eat food from him. I tell the truth. President Nyusi went and signed agreements with American companies. And at the same time, that country, that bad country in the Middle East that is hosting our football, came in and said, and they used Total Oil. You know, wherever you see Total Oil, you know, whenever you see Qatar, you know Total Oil is following. So Total Oil also, I saw this problem 7 years ago. And there are people in Africa who underrate my knowledge on these things. And they think that I'm equal. I did not go with them to school, yeah. I went to my own school and I studied alone, yeah, Miriam. And time has come for me to tell you, yes. Ask me any question, I'll answer, yeah. I studied with Jamaicans beating me. Hey! And the Bazungu insulting me because of my accent, and I passed. Therefore, you are not the one who paid my fees. So when I'm telling somebody, some people the truth, let them listen. These things started very carefully with the AU. The African Union fell into two parts. Miriam, you're asking for the problem. Where does it come? Let's go to a large extent. It comes with falling in two parts, in two divisions, Anglophone, English-speaking countries. When we wanted to bring Madam Amina Mohammed of Kenya, something came out that has never been there in AU or had never been seen. There was a wide gap between the English-speaking countries and the French-speaking countries. Look at that. This widened. Total Oil President by then, a woman, whom I will not mention the name here, because some African governments might refuse him food, her food. started this looking for oil contracts. You remember Kenya was knocked a doorstep. Someone, Miriam, do you remember when Total Oil said, we have closed the offices in South Sudan because we have not found anything that is profitable to us. It has, the contracts, all of them have been taken away by the Chinese. And the Total Oil moved its offices to Kenya. Total Oil came and bought Ngamia 1, Ngamia 2, Ngamia, whatever you, from Tallow Oil. Look at this problem where we African, are you seeing what I'm seeing? You are asking, where does the problem come? The problem comes when we Africans are divided. When we Africans don't talk with one voice. Why did the Total Oil leave South Sudan? And then it comes to resettle its base in Uganda and Kenya, and now moves to Tanzania. Promises Magufuli that they will do a Tanga, Mwanza, Hoima pipeline. Later on, Magufuli refuses. They say, okay, we shall deal with you. The rest is history. Look at what has happened. They moved to Total Oil. The people, you saw a country giving Rwanda $21 million. Did you see that? Did you see something on the paper? They gave Rwanda $21 million for the war in Mozambique. Why should this be given to an individual, to a country? They should give it to African Union or East African Community or SADC to manage. But it looks like Total Oil is paying its money. The highest bidder of Total Oil gets the money, gets the contract. They pay. Look for that article. My technical team in Nairobi, Jeff, should look for that article where Rwanda got $21 million from France, from one of the companies, for the work done or to continue with the troops that are in Cape Delgado. Now, coming back to the problem, the point Miriam asked, who caused the problem? Whose problem is it? Why did this proxy war come to your country? It's because of the leadership that we have. President Nyusi signed the contracts in two ways. He signed the contract with Americans, Chevron Oil Company, and another American company, and then went to sign, contracts with Italy, Qatar, and Total Oil. Yet Total Oil was already there. Have you seen where we get a problem? So those who missed the contract went back to say, we must disrupt this project. And you're asking, where does this proxy war start? That is how it starts. And the President Nyusi had run everywhere, went to Zimbabwe, to Emerson Mnangagwa, give me troops. Mnangagwa said, no, my troops will stay at the border. I'm telling you this is factual intelligence, you can check. We shall not go into Mozambique because there's a problem there. But we shall safeguard our border and help you. In case they run this way, we shall attack them and capture them for you. The French came and shopped for someone who can go there. When my Uganda wanted to go there, they were told, wait, Ugandan troops are not in Mozambique at the moment. Although the president signed an agreement, I don't know whether they have gone there. I will check. But the biggest contingent of troops came from Rwanda. But I want you to dig more and find out who was the occupant of Cape Delgado. Who was the occupant? Has indeed been peaceful? It was. How come it just broke out and it became unmanaged? Total Oil. Total Oil evacuated. It called its African leader, come and help us. to get our oil and to safeguard our interests. Are we not the problem? Are we not the problem, William? I think that, were you looking for an answer of that nature?
Yeah, the internal factors, because I think it's easier sometimes to point fingers outside.
They are not, me, I cannot point fingers outside. I point fingers both ways.
Because
there is an external factor, but there is a serious internal factor.
And it is the internal factors that really allow for these external, players and actors to do whatever they do, because we have provided for that avenue for them to come and do that. Daniel, would you like to say something?
Before Daniel comes in, what about the DRC Congo?
Yeah.
Miriam? Look at DRC Congo. The actors in the war in DRC Congo are insincere. There is nobody in this war, apart from the mediator and the East African community. Everybody is a liar.
Some of East African community, because the East African community, a lot of them are the insincere ones, dog. So
I don't know, but
the
mediator, at least
only the mediators.
The mediator is my friend.
Yes.
I cannot say he has ever been.
The mediators are sincere. No, the mediators are okay.
But the rest of the people
in
from
the community,
all the people who are suspected, none of them can accept.
Yeah.
We have a problem. None of them.
So obviously, none of them. Obviously that mediation has started on a faulty, because if we have the key people who are mentioned in this issue and nobody is willing to take up responsibility, so even the mediators, I can't even imagine the kind of hard time they must be having. But the war has returned, and I think today the Democratic Republic of Congo, no, they are mourning actually the death of 50 people who were killed between Thursday and yesterday. A lot of people are dying now. The war is back in full force.
Didn't I tell you? Didn't I say it here with you? The ceasefire is fragile. I told you to break. I told my Angolan friend there, the president, my fellow agent. I told him that you are going into this thing, you are burning your fingers. EU gives, European Union gives Rwanda 20 million euros for Cabo Delgado peacekeeping mission. Jamen, who benefits out of this? Do we now encourage creating armies that go on killing people, wiping out people? Excuse me, you go and create a problem, create a proxy war, then you pay even money after people have died. Is it the Africa we want? Is it the Africa we want? The Congolese problem. Nobody can tell you the truth. Not even the rebels themselves can tell you. They are here eating food somewhere here. Wanakula chakula yenyu and you know they are in your country, heaping the sewage tanks, you know, in Nairobi. Some of them have been overthrown already. About 6 of the rebel groups have no command. I'm following the war from behind. The people they left on the ground have overthrown them. So whom are you talking to?
That is for the smaller rebel groups.
Yeah, but they have been overthrown. The smaller groups, there are 2 of them, at least 3, whom I know are no longer leaders of the groups.
Now, the problem is they might be assimilated to these other larger deadly rebel groups.
Yeah, because this rebel group, the big one, that is being protected, that people are not sincere about it, is assimilating the smaller groups. The only thing that we should face head on is, let's face head on, do we rearrange Congo? Yes, don't go there and the pretext that you are digging roads. No, rearrange it. Rearrange it like Yugoslavia. I'm honest, my brain is boiling, Miriam. Rearrange this thing here. I teach political science. God will kill me and take it away. But rearrange Yugoslavia style, rearrange Congo. Time has come for people to talk the truth. Rearrange it. It's too big for Tshisekedi to know that the Pygmies in the Garamba Park is not eating food. It will take him 3 years to realize that there is Ebola, which is rearrange it. Isn't it time to speak about it? Reality has come now. Don't you think so? Albanians, Macedonians, Bosnians, Serbs, Croatians were under one country. It was the Balkanized state in Europe called the Balkans. Look at your political history. What happened to it? When Field Marshal Tito died, each tribe said, we don't want to know you. We don't want to see you. You have been scrounging on our resources. Another one said that, okay, a war erupted. I went to Yugoslavia with the governor of Tana River, Major somebody. You check the governor of Tana River, Godana. We were together in Serbia, in Belgrade. We met. We met there. We saw. I was with Robin Cook, the foreign secretary of Britain, because Labour government had taken over power. And I used to work as an intern in Robin Cook's office. That's how I propelled myself to that level. He liked my analysis of events. And then ended up in Belgrade with Godana, finding him in a hotel. He was a one of the commanders of sector commanders of the Kenyan contingent of United Nations peacekeeping force. While we are there, we saw a proxy war. This is how I got interested in the lady Carl, the prosecutor of Yugoslavian tribunal. This woman in a hotel, the same hotel where we lived, had gathered these Serbians and the Croatians in the same hotel taking pictures, asking them. So I asked the receptionist, who is Carl Ponte? You remember that chief prosecutor? I've been having problems with all international tribunals. This woman was doing something very bad. Milosevic was in prison and the Croatian people. He came back to talk to the witnesses, giving them dinner, openly, and the gifts and the money in the hotel. I took pictures, I'm sorry. And I brought the picture to Sky News. The following day, the woman resigned. Paul County, Carl Ponte, the French. That's the problem I have with these French guys. You look at how she resigned. She compromised the witnesses in the Yugoslavian tribunal. But all the same, the Yugoslavian tribunal, Miriam, the the point I'm trying to reemphasize here, don't you see that at a certain stage, Congo had to be rearranged? Because it is impossible. The Bundamulenge, the Rwandese, Congolese Rwandese, say the Congolese themselves, the Tshisekedis, don't like them. They are beating them, they are reaching them, they are cutting them to pieces. Okay, so if they don't like them, where do they go? Create a state for them. Are they creating a state? We are beating about the bush. But the real thing that I think, to me, what these rebels want, Miriam, is a state. Am I wrong? No, you think about it. It is the state they are looking for. Only that they can't come out openly to say, we are going. They are using, oh, we want to talk to Tshisekedi direct, our president. No. They don't have any life with the president.
And the reason why is because they don't feel politically included and socially and other spheres included as part of the greater communities in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Yes, there's been a history of ethnic balkanization and some targeted attacks towards that community there in the DRC. It's been there.
Thank you very much. That is exactly that. So the reasons of a proxy war are problems created by we ourselves.
Internal factors.
Internal factors. Newsy sold agreements for oil twice. What killed Kabila? What killed Kabila, the father of Kabila, is agreements. And then nobody can say you disagree with me, because I was in Zimbabwe when they brought his body, and Mugabe had to hold the body of Kabila for many days. I'm now telling you the truth, because if both of them are gone, who is going to oppose me? Did I see? I was there. For the son to walk from Lubumbashi, where he was, to reach capital city, to avoid Uganda and Rwanda taking over the capital city of Kinshasa. That's the truth. But what killed him is the confusion of minerals. Sign here, give a concession here. From the time Kabila said, I will not give concessions to a certain company, his life was in danger. The bodyguard just sprang and killed him. Look at what is happening in Chad. The whole president winning an election, whether bad election or whatever, is more maimed at the front line. And then President Macron comes to create, to be the guest of honor on the installation of the son without even mourning the father. Is this the Africa we want? Look at Burkina Faso. Few days ago, another military coup. And this time the captain said, we have taught them a lesson, we are not going to arrest them. Miriam, can I tell you what that means in military language? You know, you come from one of those families. It is over. These guys will not even see light. They are not there. Because they had planned another coup instigated by the same proxy country. Have you seen the problem? There you are. In Mali. In Guinea. Now we see. They have invited 49 heads of state. They have excluded 6 of them. No, 7 of them. Is it 7 or 5? 5 of them have been excluded. 2 are not coming. Eritrea will not go. Because if he reaches there, his plane will be intercepted in air. He's a Danda terrorist lying in Asmara, killing people and going back to Asmara all the time. Yes. Boss, Miriam, if I don't speak the truth here now, when will I speak? In hell or heaven? God will ask me, why didn't you speak those things to save humanity? How can you explain to me that Al-Shabaab is giving people food? Where does it get the food? When the real government does not have the food. Is that not a proxy war? Who is giving Al-Shabaab food? Marked with their cans. Oil cans, you can read where they came from. And then we are here just running with our trousers up and down that we are doing. hiyo kitu inanuka. You saw the oil cans, Al-Shabaab giving food. Hala, where do they get the food? How did the food drop there? Africa must speak. We have lost so many people out of conflict. We must speak against conflict. We must call out people who help these guys. You can't tell me that a powerful army has weapons near your border. You have no hand in it. Kwenda utaambia nani? Enda, you just go and tell another lie somewhere. We are not being honest, Miriam. A powerful army with sophisticated guns, even saying they will capture more territory. It is near your border. You can't make a noise. Hey. That's the Africa we want. And I'm just I am a journalist speaking my mind. I'm not bothered. If you want to censor, to kill me, I've lived 68 years. Surely, Miriam will live longer than me. But I've tried, isn't it? But if I don't speak the truth now, then what is this degree that I read in London University running at 3 a.m. To go to leave Salisbury work, a night duty to go and wash my children before they go to school. Then I also run to school. Hala, what will I gain out of it? What will Africa gain out of me if I don't speak? What will the late queen think of me when we meet down there? She paid my school fees, which no African country would have paid. Should I speak about it? I struggled, and I have the knowledge. Let me speak. This is the time to speak. I'm not speaking about your country, Kenya. No, I'm speaking about Africa, the region. What? These statements that are being flying around here, the things that are flying, these statements are not very good. Our region is getting closer to uncoordinated movement of proxies. Now we could get into very terrible situation. Already West Africa is gone. Boko Haram has taken over the whole Sahel region, right from Cote d'Ivoire up to Chad and this way up to Asmara. You see the problem. That region is gone. The whole Chad is gone. Libya is gone. Imagine over 4,000 troops, rebels, are training in South Libya under General Khalifa. What is all this? Look at that. Media, look at the Proxy war. We have gone to Libya, divided Libya into two governments, Benghazi and Tripoli. What bewitched Africa? And we are running here, we are saying AU, we are heading to White House as beggars. Yet we are going to beg the people who took our things, who created the war. They created the war, then we are going to beg them, how can you help us with salt? Help us with salt. Saidia chumbi. Tuko ubaya sana. We can do away with the war, utuwezi kukua ubaya. If we do away with the war, we start thinking about our own people. We start investing in our own people. Miriam, I tell you, the life in Africa 20 years to come will change, and Africa will be the continent, as I land the mic, will be the continent that will be saving the world. You don't know why God made us black only. Why? Have you ever asked that question? Any scientist who has read and found out why we are black and the rest are white? Maybe Wesonga is an investigative man. Can you tell us why our continent is even cut away and it is in water? It is Wanakata. We have tried to make a bridge, Uko Gibraltar and Suez Canal, but we are different.
I think that is something worth investigating, Dr. Masanga.
We are different. Mungu Mungu alikata, alisema watu wangu waache waokue huko. Nenye sasa mnaanza kuenda kuomba huko. Omba. Oh! Saidia. Another country, Russia. You know now. Aha, Miriam, again, don't say I did not tell you. Joe Biden has called them on the 14th. By the end of the year, Christmas present. When Songa listen to this, Russia is going to call them for a Christmas present. Now, suruali zitapasuka kwa barabara. Hey! India will say around January there, tuko monsoon is coming, but not now. Utakuja baadaye. India calls. Then France. Why don't we call these guys here? We have the money. We have the oil. We have Lapset. We have what? Why don't we call them? Come. Here, put the money. No LOC. No LOC. You see part of the problem of Western Hemisphere. Why China? I don't also agree with China in most cases. I'm not, in fact, I don't like them. Because they have not given us anything apart from taking our rights. They took our rights in Uganda and Kibimba. They would have died. They would have not produced 2 billion people. It is our rights that gave them the energy. 40 years ago, we are taking 1 kilo, half. But now they come and give us loan instead of giving us money for free. Chinese and Auko. Why are you giving us money with strings attached? You also came to Uganda and took our rice. Yes, Chivimba rice scheme. Miriam, you have driven from Busia up to Kampala. You see there, Chivimba rice scheme is still there, producing rice. Bigger than Pishori. What is this? Up here in your place, Pishori, what, Kinyanga, Uko, Mwea. Chivimba rice scheme fed the Chinese to make the money today. They are now coming here to loan us money and they want to capture our trousers. There's no country I'm going to spare. You know, just listen. So Joe Biden has called these African heads of state. By the end of this year, you will see another contingent with perfumes and suits. We are in Beijing. So msimamo iko wapi? Msimamo iko wapi? Kuwa na msimamo. None allying the movement. Why don't we resurrect it and hide yourself there? They will soon pass a resolution. In fact, one of the resolutions that they will table on table in the White House. I wrote my letter, Miriam. Congratulations, it arrived. The Haitian lady has answered me, who is the press secretary of Joe Biden. Yes. It is there. Let them think about it. I helped Zimbabwe. Enjoy. Emerson, enjoy. I've opened. If you don't ask for that, then when will you ask for it? If they are not going to remove sanctions, why do you go there? Why don't you just stay home and bust these sanctions? Trade with African countries. Miriam, can you hear my reasoning? Ian Smith traded with, he was put on sanctions, but he started trading with other countries. Is he not alive? Did he succeed? Why are we not trading with another African country? Beba diamond upatie Kenya, kuuzie diamond, upate pesa, you go and put money in your country. Why are you begging these guys for sanctions? On the second note, I looked at that, I said, why did I even beg? But I was only trying to tell African heads of state that please, your excellencies, as you go to Washington, in that room, there is a monster ahead in front of you who put sanctions on one of you. Ladies and gentlemen, Africa Showdown becomes sweeter and sweeter with questions asked, like the question Miriam asked. Are factors, internal factors, are the ones partly seriously. I think they are 90. Miriam, can we call them 90%? Yes, internal factors. Why did Nyusi sign agreements twice? He brought the war on his country. Why did Riek Machar and Salva Kiir out today? You were analyzing last week. It is even becoming funnier. Funny. Sudan is just, you don't know what will happen. You'll sleep, but you don't know whether you'll wake up to get your trousers and start running again. The situation is not clear, it's fragile. Then you go to my country, Uganda, armed groups are coming back again, hitting police stations. Very dangerous. Why should we go to that level? Why don't we sit down and talk? Why don't we sit down and talk? Call a meeting for everybody. Not in even not in Uganda, call it anywhere. And let people come and vomit there. What is the problem? Don't get armed people to go and beat up, kill people because you want power. South Africa, look at it. You can't do your work and finish like we are finishing in 2 hours here. We would have switched off so many times. A country that used to have power, has no power, no electricity. South Africa is gone. Eskimo, a company that supplies power, is dead. They were showing even infrastructure has been looted. Is this the Africa we want? Miriam, I land my mic. And let's call it a day. We have Daniel Wesonga, your parting shot, and you yourself, your parting shot. We call it a day. We have done our best. My knowledge students who have picked what they can pick. By the way, I did not know, Miriam, that our shows are listened to by very many silent students. Very many students have benefited out of our talk. They get clues and go back and research to find some facts. This, Dr. Matanga said this, is it true? This is exactly, I got 9 students from very powerful university calling me to say, sir, if you can form a group where you could be teaching us once in a week on issues and we raise our questions, we could understand the African politics. I think that is the noble thing I'm going to do. I don't want to cry tears, but I will do that for my people of Africa. That's the best I can do. I'm not rich. I've never stolen anybody's money. I suffer quite a lot to reach where I am. But for the betterment of Africa, I'll try to do that. Students, You are watching, some of you. Thank you very much. I will create that group very soon for students only, and it will be once in a week, where I will choose, or you send me your questions. All students that are interested in African politics and international relations and the political science itself. There seem to grow what we call a third force in Africa. Nikolai Machiavelli, in his book, The Prince, talked of a third force. A third force that is generating heat for Zuma, for Ramaphosa. Medium, we don't want to preempt what we are going to sweetness we are going to see tomorrow, but surely a president to be found with $500,000 not accounted for. Was it the salary for all these years? But if it was the salary, why don't you bank it to generate some? So it is, when you look at the businessman who was going to buy buffalo, the buffaloes, Sudanese, I know him very well. He's just a very dangerous guy. In fact, he has opened a Pandora box that it could link in international police to get this guy who has not even claimed his buffaloes. So that's the Africa we have, Daniel.
Thank you so much, Dr. Masanga David. And of course, I've been following the conversation. In order to be able to bring to an end this mass of confusion that has been wreaking havoc to our continent in the name of proxy wars and chaos that we've seen across every corner of the continent. And something comes out clearly when we speak, and Miriam brought it out clearly, that we must have an enabling environment for all these to take root. And I 101% support the sentiment, because they say he who doesn't stand for something can fall for anything. And Africa has become that continent which is perceived as an incubator and a chamber for Western countries to bring their proxy wars, to bring their experiments, and to bring even their test tube, political structures in order to see whether they work or not. And that has made Africa to be vulnerable to all this that is happening in various parts of the African continent. And therefore, not until we as Africans embrace our Africanism, then we will always play the second fiddle, and we will always succumb to problems that are not of our own, but rather because of our own complacency, we've allowed these things to happen to us. So therefore, it's a wake-up call for the African continent, and I believe those who are in charge of policy, those who are in leadership, those who believe in an alternative third force that you talked about, Dr. Masanga, for the African continent to be able to rise and to be able to realize the dreams of Kwame Nkrumah, the dreams of Milton Obote, the dreams of Haile Selassie, the dreams of all African founding fathers, then we must actually talk about the path of autonomy. China has done it. We've seen Eastern Asian countries have done it. We've seen even Europe, some parts of Europe do it. Why not Africa? I believe if we decide that we want to walk the path of the second liberation and the second independence of our continent and focus on matters and issues that actually elevate the lives and the wellness of the African people, then we shall surely be able to achieve beyond the expectations. I submit.
Miriam.
I'll just reiterate some of the things that we've already said here over and over and over. Yes, there's a proxy war ongoing in so many other countries, including the Great Lakes region, and we've seen how that has played out to the detriment of stability of some of these countries. But at the end of the day, we allow this to happen. We have to go internally and see what is it that we are doing that is enabling this interference from outside, and how can we put the interest of our people first and our countries first until we are able to get clearly our identity as a people and see who we are, that we will continue with these things that we see, the ugliness of what we see the outside world and what that interference looks like, even with the conflicts that are ongoing in Africa. So we must interact with ourselves and see who are we as a people in this continent, and how can we best serve our people, how can we best live the dreams of our founding fathers, and how can we realize this by ourselves and stop with the selfish and greediness that we see with a lot of our leadership who have no interest in serving the interest of this continent and its people. So we are the crafters of our own fate and our own problems as it stands right now.
We are the problem. We are the drafters of our own fate. I like the word you have used. We have drafted our own fate, and that is it. Let's end it here. Miriam, thank you very much for your day, and let's look out tomorrow for the tough questions, which I believe you are also gathering some, which is becoming very popular. Tomorrow, you gather some, I gather some. You exchange some so that we ask them in an order. We had 4 of them left. So we shall begin from where the 4 were, and then we take it from there and we finish. That's our role. We are going to be doing that. And we shall be changing the television very, very, very seriously. And many students are really willing to listen to some of our discussions and take our notes. Later on, they start expounding what we have done, what we have missed, and what we can put together. Thank you very much. I thank you all. I have thank you, the technical team. And the Commonwealth Conference is taking place in London this week. And Kenya will be one of the guest speakers. So I will monitor that conference and bring it live to you. I think your Prime Minister, is it your Prime Secretary, has already flown out of the country to that place. We shall be in the Commonwealth. I want to thank Baroness Scotland, my friend, for all organizing such a big event. Trade, Britain is strategizing itself towards taking all African trade. So I welcome people, especially we who are waiting for free matoke, tax-free. We shall eat and grow better and have healthy diets in London. Thank you very much, Miriam, and God bless you as you go home. We meet tomorrow. Thank you.